Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying Runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hey there, everyone. It's Tony here from the. I think we're now officially called the Running Mates, not the Marathon Mates, but Tony from the Marathon Mates, and welcome to episode 113 of the Flying Runr Podcast. And we were a little bit disjointed over the weekend. We didn't get any Facebook lives out. We didn't even catch up all together in the one time. So this is it. This is going to be our informal, impromptu podcast episode related to our Sydney Marathon experience. Of course, around the grounds, we've got Lucia, the pacer extraordinaire from Sydney, and we've got Team Ellis, Tara and Tim, sitting there after they've had a couple of wines for dinner, so who knows what we're going to get. So how are we all? Monday, Marathon Monday. How are we feeling, Luch? Let's start with you.
I've pulled up pretty well. I just have two very nice blisters on the heel of my feet. So it's still a bit tender in the quads ever so slightly because I walked about 95% of yesterday, which I'll go into detail in a bit, but all things considered, I've pulled up pretty damn well. Very happy.
Yeah, and Team Alice, how'd you pull up? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, we're feeling really good actually. Woke up this morning, no hangover after last night's effort. Oh, you mean after the marathon, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no, feeling good after the marathon too. So, we went for a good walk around Bondi to Bronte Beach in Sydney this morning, and had a lovely day out by the surf. So now we're feeling
that's
good.
awesome. That's awesome.
Lots of people out there with the medals, so Medal Monday is a real thing.
When we're at the airport today, we only saw a couple of people with the medals on, but it was good to see those. And of course, Sharon and I don't participate in Medal Monday. So Sharon and I, of course, flew out of Sydney this morning, and we're a bit stiff and sore, but generally no more than what you would normally feel on a day after a marathon. So feeling pretty good. And of course, those couple of drinks last night. Thank you to our good friends at Travelling Fit who allowed Sharon and I and a couple of other marathon mates to gate crash and have a couple of drinks with the Travelling Fit crew. So let's just have a bit of a chat around the Sydney Marathon. I've got the elite results. We'll just quickly go through them. Marcel Hugh won the male wheelchair. I mean, no surprises there. He wins just about everything. In the women wheelchair, Susan Scaroni won it in 1:44, which was awesome. When you go to the male elite race, and everyone was hoping the sentimental favourite of Elliot Kipchoge would win. Elliot came in 9th with a time of 2:08:31. I believe, I haven't watched the race, but I believe he dropped away with about 8 kilometres to go. He started to fall off the back of the lead pack. So Kebedu from Ethiopia won it in a time of 2:06. And the interesting thing there that I see with the marathon, apart from Kipchoge's effort, was where the Australians came. So when you look at the Australians, we had our first placed male. Let me pull it up here. Might be easier to do it here. because it was also the Australian Championships, of the marathon. So Haftu Strinzos won it for the Australian Championships. He came 14th overall in a time of 2:11. Thomas DeCanto was 16th. He was 2:12. Brett Robinson then came third in the Australian Championships, 17th overall in a time of 2:15 flat. So Brett Robinson's a real conundrum at the moment. So
yeah, he's not performing how he used to. And Liam Adams, he DNF'd because Friday night at the welcome ceremony, which we'll cover shortly, he was asked, so how's your preparation been? Oh, yeah, I've been a bit injured, but do you know what? I'll give it a crack. To you. So I'm not, it's a shame he couldn't finish, but I'm not surprised that he got a DNF. But he was just like, kind of is what it is type of thing.
I think everyone I spoke to was injured and their training hadn't gone well. And it was like it was the rehab marathon because everyone, so just incredible.
I was saying that earlier to Tara today that I think the 7-hour cutoff gave everyone a bit of a extended bit of hope that you didn't train as hard for this one, but you'll walk the hills. It gives you plenty of time, and you'll get through it somehow. And that's I know dozens of people that had the same mentality, just wing it on the day. But there are a number of people who also didn't get through it because they didn't respect it enough.
Yeah.
And, we were just talking to a guy on the street before from America. It was his 199th marathon yesterday. And he got to, what was it, 15 kilometres. And he just couldn't go any further.
Wow. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So let's look at the elite and then we'll start talking about the race. Female Safan Hassan, the world's greatest athlete in my eyes. She won it in a time of 2:18.22. Luch, I wasn't there on Friday night, but apparently she was saying things like she just wishes she could just do a marathon like the normal punters and line up. And
she was an absolute hoot. Like, so she got interviewed, and she was asked, asked a couple of questions. She's like, I just want to be normal. I just want to go to the toilet. I just want to enjoy the race. I just want to have an ice cream. I want to do what normal people do. And the MC said, but Safan, you're not normal. You can do those things anyway. But she had the whole crowd in stitches. It was so good to see that that both Kipchoge and her son, how humble they were on Friday night.
Yeah. They certainly had the PR machine in overdrive. In the top 10, we had 3 Australian women, which were actually 4 Australian women, which is awesome. Leanne Popiani came 7th in a time of 2:24.47. Jess Stenson came 8th in a time of 2:28.56. Lisa Waitman came 9th at a time of 2:29.34. And then 10th with Abigail Nordberg, who came in at 2:35.43. So that's awesome, exciting for the women.
And then also something even more exciting, because everyone knows the history between Jess and Lisa, unfortunately, as to what happened in Paris last year. But at the start line yesterday, I found this out earlier today. Lisa said to Jess, let's just bury the hatchet. What's in the past is in the past. Let's move on. And then at the end, so as you said, Tony, it was Leanne, then Jess, then Lisa, and then all 3 of them hugged at the end. And you could tell it was such a meaningful moment for them, and especially for Jess and for Lisa after everything that's gone on, to see that embrace. So hopefully that chapter in our sport has now closed and everyone can move on. So it was really good to see it happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's start from an overall perspective. It was our very first time we've had a major here in the Southern Hemisphere, and specifically Australia. Tim and Tara, you've seen a couple of marathons in your time. Your overall sense, was it a major?
Oh, absolutely. We flew down to Sydney from Brisbane on Thursday, and the amount of people wearing all the shirts from all different marathons around the world. It had that vibe. The people around were definitely the running vibe. By Friday, it was
electric.
It was electric. It was feeling like a New York or a Chicago. It was Boston. It was really, really feeling like it. I must say today, though, Marathon Monday or Medal Monday was a little bit underwhelming, to be honest, compared to the other majors. However, there's still time to grow on that.
It's a new thing for Australia, Marathon Monday, or Medal Monday. But yeah, I agree. It felt very much like a major. The different languages out on course, the constant stream of runners. We were never alone on the course. There was never anyone more than 20 or 30 meters from us at any one time on the course. We were always surrounded by people. You got this joy of excitement from people in the starting corrals. It was quite electric in the starting corrals. But even out on course, it felt like a major. There were crowds there. There were some quiet areas, definitely areas where they need to improve. But look, everyone's got to improve a little bit. But I think for a first up major, I'd give them a big pat on the back and say, job well done. They did an awesome effort in pulling it all together. And I was just talking to Tara about it at dinner just before. And maybe it was the margarita, I don't know. But I think that they need to now just take hold of what they've got, add the extra little bits of polish, which we can talk about in a while. Don't try and grow it. Don't go beyond 39,000 or 35,000 runners. Just leave it as it is for a couple of years. Don't try and turn it into a New York with 50,000. Just cement what they've got or create that foundation of what they've got. Add the polish to it. Keep on building the excitement and then focus on growing the numbers and everything else. But I think overall, for us, it was very much a major and it felt like a major.
Yep.
So, Luch, no, I've got no prizes for guessing. You're probably going to say it's a major.
Just the feel of it. It's even before Thursday, you could because I work right in the city, and part of the course I actually went past my office yesterday. I'm like, oh, maybe I could go to the toilet in there, but I didn't have my security pass. You could see all the tourists just coming in days before, so I was already building up, leading up to Thursday. But then when it kicked off with the Expo, it had the feel of a major. And I even had some people say to me, close to Boston in terms of the excitement of the city. So the team did an amazing job to do what they did, because there was even talk Friday night how they want to improve the opening night ceremony type thing, and I'll go into that a bit more shortly as well. But just the vibe around the city, it's just it made me so proud to be a Sydney sider as well. It's like, yeah, we can do it. We're finally on the stage. And to see people who normally wouldn't come out and watch marathons, because especially around Kingsford, as we went further down from previous years, some people were out in their front yards just watching it. So I think with time they'll get the crowds more and more. But it was I've had an epic couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. And we flew in Friday afternoon and went straight to the Expo, and there was the vibe. You had the vibe. Saturday we went back to the Expo, and there were just runners, and as you were saying, runners, jackers everywhere. I followed a lady who had the traditional 23 Boston marathons that she'd done embroidered on the back of her jacket, so you could see it was a big event, and it was just exciting. So let's sort of just map through generally how we felt. Now we can do a bit more of a deep dive. This is just on a later episode, I guess, but it's also good just to get it while it's fresh. So let's talk about the Expo, guys. We've talked about the vibe. It had the feel of a major. On the first day of the Expo, I wasn't there, but from all reports, it was a bit of a nightmare. But generally, the Expo.
The ASICS part was a bit of a balls up on Thursday morning. So I got there at about, I think it was just after 3. I thought, okay, I'll get my ASICS stuff before I had to go on stage. And then there was a massive queue to pay. And I said to my friends, I'm like, will I make it in the 2 hours? Because the queue just seemed to go on and on. But from the time we got into the queue to when we exited, like after paying, we were only in the queue for 33 minutes because I did put the timer on the phone. But I kept on saying to my friends, if you can survive the Tokyo Expo of 2023, this is nothing. But it was a shame. People were just throwing stuff on the floor, throwing stuff on the floor. The ASICS guys, they were trying to put stuff back. At one point, like I was looking for a size, and the ladies were like, "Oh, what size do you want? I'll help you look." So they learned a lot from that, because then Friday they changed the system completely. They'd moved the screen printing to another hall, because previously on the Thursday it was in the same section as the merchandise, and they put on additional counters. They changed the queuing system, so they did make changes quickly. Other than that, the actual other vendors, I was only disappointed, and this is me being bitter because we know how much I love my socks. Features had run out of medium, and I think medium of the Sydney one by lunchtime on day one. So I didn't pre-order a pair because I don't pre-order merch, because I got burnt once. So I'm like, no, I'll be all right. I should get them at the expo. Yeah, no, didn't get them. So I'm like, bugger. But it was, I was disappointed they didn't have any roofing solutions. that was a bit sad. And it's a shame that they don't have other sporting brands, like for instance, if they do at Chicago and New York, like Saucony was there, ASICS were there in Chicago. So obviously it was just ASICS being there, but it'd be good to see if they're able to expand that. People were complaining about the queuing on day one, even for bibs, but it's the first year that they've had that many people. The queues to go in, it's one thing. They said that people had to book a time, but they weren't checking times. No. So it made no difference if you booked or not.
Tim and Tara?
We went on the Thursday morning, and it was a bit of a shit show. But it was only in the ASIC section that it was that way. And you're right, it was the way they had the clothes put out. They had them all folded up in piles, not on hangers, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass. And they sorted it out. But it's not a marathon expo, a world major marathon expo, unless people are complaining about it. So it felt very much like a marathon expo, didn't it? Because people were complaining.
So we did the mini marathon and the full marathon. So the mini marathon was the 5K the day before. So the 10K and the 5K bib pickup was in a separate line to your marathon pickup. We walked straight in. We lined for probably 2 minutes, maybe, for the 5K one. Got that bib quite easily. Went into the next line. The lines were short for us for the expo. We were there on the very first day, and we were there probably maybe 12 o'clock. They were very well organised with the fact that it was Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, so you knew exactly where to pick up your bibs from. They gave us our 7-star armbands that we got, sleeves. They were very, very good there. We then went into the expo. The expo we had to wait for a very long time to get into that expo, and that was because they were overcrowded in the expo at that time. In the ASICS section. The lineup for the ASICS section for us, we brought two things, a hat and a jacket. It took us about an hour and 15 minutes to get through the ASICS line. Once we got through that ASICS line, the rest of it was very, very good. Can't fault it. I think it was a much better expo when you got into it than it was for Boston, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They're still learning. There's teething problems with every expo. They are learning, and they did take that into account and change it and fix it the next day. So it's a lot better than Tokyo, without a doubt.
Yeah, I thought the ability for Sydney to change it based on what occurred Thursday was incredible, and just shows how responsive the organisation is. We got in on Friday night. I was a bit tired and cranky. We had to get our bibs for the next day, so otherwise we would have gone straight to our hotel. But yeah, it was still plenty of people around, and they were giving me the absolute irrits because all I wanted was to get a jacket, which I had to pick up off the floor. So yeah, it was a bit. You could understand the bedlam, and we had a bit of a chat around this last night over a bit of a drink, and there's a whole heap of people that rush to the expo first up on a Thursday whenever it opens, and usually it's because they don't want to. They want to get something before it sells out. And I think that's the key. We've just got to start losing that desire for people to have to be there at first up, because it always seems to be first up on the Thursday that expos tend to fail. So we've got to let people know.
Yep. I was just going to say, the worst part is, and why people do that is because Tokyo Marathon, unless you are there first up and you're not there within the first 2 hours, there's no merchandise left. Yeah. So people stress that they're not going to get merchandise.
Yeah, but and it's ASICs.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
I didn't hear of anyone running out of a jacket or not getting a jacket.
Yeah, no.
The other thing, guys, is what did you think of the pricing of the ASICs merchandise?
I think if you just compare it in Aussie dollars, like for a hat, $60, it's may seem a bit pricey, but however, when you convert that into US dollars, you probably pay the equivalent of that in US dollars anyway. So I think based on Aussie dollars, some stuff was expensive, but then I've spent way more than that at expos overseas. So really.
Yeah, I just got the jacket and we bought Tim a cap. So, but yeah, I thought the prices were a bit extreme. But you're going to pay $170 for a jacket, no matter where you are in terms of the dollars. Yeah. I think Chicago ended up converting to $220. So, it is what it is. So, but the other thing that on the Saturday, because we went back on the Saturday, they created a limit of 2 jackets per person, which I thought was great.
That was the Thursday as well.
Yeah. So, and the other thing that I'm very grateful for is that I actually pre-ordered my Abbott's 7-star shirt. Mm-hmm. And thank God I did, because even though they said there would be limited stock available at the expo, we all know that actually meant we will not have any stock at the expo. So, Tim, I know you've got a bit of a story and a disappointment with the Abbotts at the expo, so I'll hand over to you.
One of the things everyone looks forward to at the expo is the wall of 6-star names, and I know that they're not doing the full wall anymore. They're only doing the previous year's worth of recipients, but they didn't have it this year at Sydney. And when I asked one of the Abbott's people why the wall wasn't there, they said because Sydney's not part of the 6-star medal, and therefore we don't have the wall. We only have it at the 6-star events, which I thought was pretty cool form. At the end of the day, aren't they all equal? Aren't they all majors? Yes, I get that there's the 6 stars there, but to me that was a bit like Abbott saying, well, no, this isn't as in the same category as the others, therefore we don't need to have it.
It's a major minor.
Yeah, it is a major minor, but I would have thought, even from an advertising point of view, a thing to get people excited about the 6-star medal, putting the wall there would have been a good thing to do.
And they would have sold so much merchandise if they had merchandise there.
Would have sold an awful lot of merchandise, and especially that's the 7. How there was that one that was the Abbott's for the Sydney 7 one. There was lots and lots, and you just couldn't get it. That's the one you got, Tony. Yeah, and they would have sold that out 4 times over if they had that there.
They had plenty of pre-orders, I could say, because when we went to pick it up, there's a whole room that was just chock-a-block full of pre-ordered. Yep. So they certainly made enough money, the old Abbott's crew. But yeah, it's disappointing because, you want a major to be a major. And so therefore the presenting sponsor, which is Abbott, should be saying, hey, it's a major. These are our original 6 stars, But yeah, it was very, very interesting. So Friday night, Lucia, they had the official thing down at the Opera House. You hinted on it before. I didn't get there, of course, because I was tired and cranky and trying to get through the expo. I think Tim and Tara were on the piss somewhere. So what was all? Yeah. What was that like, the official?
It was an absolute corker of a night. So I'd met one of my fellow ambassadors, and we're like, which way do we go in? Because we got told we had to go in one way. And naturally, we didn't listen. We went in the back way. But we're like, we have to get our QR code scanned and get a bracelet. And we're like, oh, hang on, we're going to miss our opportunity to walk up the finishing chute. So we actually left where we were, re-entered, just so we could walk up the official chute we had to, because I had some friends in the crowd and they could actually spot me. The stairs of the Opera House were packed with people, absolutely packed. And just walking up that chute, it's like, it was such a surreal experience. And so the event started at 6 and they did a welcome to country, some speeches. The CEO of Abbott World Majors was there. Wayne Larden also spoke, and then they brought out the elite wheelchair athletes. So it was great hearing from them. And then they brought out the Aussie elite. So they brought out Liam Adams, Brett Robinson, Lisa Waitman, and Jess Stenson. And so then they spoke, and then everyone's waiting for. Then they brought out some other elites. So Bridget Koskai. Can't remember the others, unfortunately. And then eventually we got Hassan and Kipchoge, but they were literally ushered in. They did their bit. They got presented with some gifts from Tri-Mob. There was fireworks, and then they got escorted out. We thought that they were going to attend the VIP function afterwards. So we were all planning, like all of the ambassadors were like, yeah, we're going to have photos with them there. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah, no, they didn't even make it. But it was still amazing to be in the room because there was the wheelchair athletes, some of the elites, some of the Aussie elites stayed on for a bit. I managed to grab a photo with Bridget Koskai. Very, very, very humble person. She was so softly spoken, but of course I had to take the opportunity. I'm like, oh, can I have a photo? She goes, yeah, no problem. It was being in that room, being at that event, it brought it all home. It's like, this is actually happening. We're actually going to have a major in our backyard. It was like we were all saying, it's like it was hard to describe the meaning to actually, felt very privileged to be there because there was only maybe about, let's say, 150 people, and little old me, I got lucky enough to be invited. So it was just such a surreal experience. And I was talking with one of the team from Pont 3 that night, and they're like, oh, how did you find it? I said, look, the only one that comes close in terms of opening ceremonies is New York because of the Parade of Nations. I said, otherwise, this absolutely topped it because the crowd was controlled as well, unlike because Berlin does something similar, but apparently they don't control the crowds, whereas people, it was very well controlled. So they're already talking on improvements for it for next year because previously the 10K was on the Sunday, but the 5K was on the Sunday, but since they moved the 5K to the Saturday, they had to have the finish area ready by Friday. And so they thought, well, it would be crazy not to do something here to open the weekend. And so that's why the opening was there. And the excitement on all the elites from overseas, their faces, Kipchoge's face and Hassan's face, when you could see them walking down, seeing the Opera House, seeing the fireworks. And as I said earlier, both Kipchoge and Hassan were so humble in what they were saying because he was like, I just want to leave my mark on Sydney running. He was very, very passionate about that and just wanting to leave his mark. And Hassan said something really interesting because she had the option to run Tokyo or to run Sydney. She chose Sydney. She wants to be part of history, she said.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw a thing where Kipchoge left his footprint and he did that with Deke, and I think that was pretty cool. Hey, guys, we are conscious. We are on a tight time frame, so I do need to cut Lucia short there a little bit. I'm sorry. So just Saturday, Friday night looked awesome. I wish I could have got there. It just looked amazing. I did see one interview Bruce McAvaney did with Kipchoge and Safan, and it was on the forecourt of the Opera House, and it looked freezing, and both of them were just sort of shivering, and I actually felt a little bit sorry for them, but it did look amazing Friday night. So Saturday we had the mini marathon. The mini marathon has the same finish line as the marathon on the Sunday. So bad luck to everyone who ran the 10 who didn't have the same finish line. But if you could do the 5, away you go. So the mini marathon, general thoughts. How'd you feel about it, Tim?
I actually didn't mind it. I thought the course was really good. It had an awesome little vibe about it. It's not a New York dash to the finish line. It's not a Chicago bobble hat run, but it's got similar sort of potential and vibe to be that. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I thought especially because it was most of it was the end of the marathon course. It was actually just a really nice taster for those that can't do the full marathon. It gives you that feel of being in a big crowd. There was a massive crowd of people.
Yeah.
And it was the end part of the marathon to a degree.
And it showed really good views of the harbour along the way, going down towards Mrs. Macquarie Chairs, not all the way, but some of the way, and then around St. Mary's Cathedral and up the side of Hyde Park there. It was a good event. We enjoyed it. And the bling that we got at the end, the little 5K medal, it could have been a little bit bigger, but it was a really nice medal, I thought.
The only thing they didn't give out any fruit or anything after the 5K. Would have been nice just to even get a banana or an apple or something like that, or a little breakfast box or something, but that's okay.
Yeah, the only thing I thought about the 5K, like you guys, I loved it, enjoyed it, but I just think it's really a family-friendly event. You've got mums and dads with strollers and all little kids, and they're all running along. And then you've got what I would call the serious idiots who just want to make everything a time trial. And there is a little bit of a capacity there for people to get hurt. So I think they've just got to sort that out, however they do that. Whether you put kids in strollers right in that last group and let them enjoy the run by themselves without having to deal with the idiots that come through. So,
sorry, literally, how did your sister first time ago? Okay.
So, for those that don't know, my sister's probably one of the most inactive people there is. So I paid for her to do it. So she did it. I gave her every chance to opt out. So the plan was we'll do it together. My mum even said to me the night before, just let it beat you. I'm like, I was tossing up. Even as I was coming down Macquarie Street, I saw a friend, and even my friend's like, oh, just let it win. I'm like, no. So as we're coming down Macquarie Street, she goes, oh, are we going to finish together? I'm like, yeah, all right. We get on the chute, the finishing chute. The bitch bolts in front of me. He crosses the line in front of me. So she now claims that she beat me in the mini marathon. So I'm not going to hear the end of it. But she actually enjoyed it. She really enjoyed it, which is good.
All right. Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, okay, let's talk about Sunday, guys, and we really are on a time limit, unfortunately. So, start area, course in general, and how'd you find the day? Let's start with Luch. Yours was a little bit different because you're like one of those last people coming across the line.
So I was quite lucky. Well, I had a very early start, so I had to beat North Sydney by no later than 5. So all the paces we had to assemble inside North Sydney Oval, which benefited that we got to use the toilets inside. We didn't have to worry about queuing because I heard that there were crazy queues for toilets. I think the changes they made to the course this year compared to last year, great course. Really, really good. So as we came out of the oval, so therefore we could start getting into our areas, I was your hype girl on Sunday. I'm surprised I still had a voice by the time the race started because I saw a number of friends. I was just yelling I was yelling stuff out. I'm like, guys, you're nearly there. I'm like, to the start line, that is. And people would be like, oh, I'm like, just have a laugh, people, have a laugh. But the vibe was awesome. So it was really good. I think the only downside, but it's something which we were kind of expecting, that not many people stayed at the end to support along parts of the way. It was really good seeing how many people stayed at the finishing area to support. And if you watch the YouTube coverage, which I'll find it, you see me coming through screaming like a nutter, but it was just so exciting though. So I think the changes they made to the course, great. I hope they keep them.
All right, Team Ellis, how'd you go?
Okay, so it was a lot hillier than I thought it was going to be. I liked the downhill start. I was really pacing myself backwards for that one because I knew from Boston what happens if you run too hard down the hills to start with. By K14, I was ready to give up. It was hilly and it was hard. I was just gone. I caught one of my good friends. She actually ran my very first marathon, and she was on our podcast, Sarah Jane. She actually caught up to me at 14 Ks, boosted my spirits like nothing else, made me cry, and made me feel so much better. And then we were just with her all the way to the finish. I had a good friend, Ange, who was with me for the Gold Coast Marathon, for the last 10 Ks of the Gold Coast Marathon. She was with us for most of that marathon as well.
From 20 Ks.
From about 20 Ks. After about 14 Ks, it does flatten out. It's nice. The crowd support isn't really needed because the people on course, there's so many people on course. You've got enough people. Course was nice. I like going through where the equestrian centre was at Centennial Park, I think it is. And I don't really remember much of the SCG apart from seeing Tony and Sharon, but I was feeling pretty bad by that stage. And yeah, the downhill finish though, oh my God, my pace for that last kilometre, 5 minutes and 18 seconds per
Awesome.
for that last kilometre.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We
good.
smashed it down there. The hills were fantastic. It was a weird start downhill. That's a carton of beer.
That was Lucia, everyone, by the
me.
way. And I'm not editing that out. So
No.
She owes us all a beer.
The downhill start was good, but there was a lack of crowds. You sort of crossed over the start line, and there wasn't much for the first little while down Miller Street. There was some pockets here and there, but I found there wasn't much for a start of a major. But yeah, loved the course. Loved running over the Harbour Bridge. Loved going around through Piermont and then Darling Harbour and then around and under the Harbour Bridge again. And the up and backs through the CBD were a little bit tiresome going up and down those hills, but that was still okay. Oxford Street, going up that long hill to the top where you turn off onto whatever the street heading down to. Which one?
Flinders Street.
Yeah. Flinders Street down.
The drag queens were good though.
Yeah,
the drag queens were very good there.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the course. It had a lot of variety in it. Spectacular, and it was quite shady. Even though it was a warmish day, there were elements where it was quite shady, and you could find plenty of shade on the course when you needed it. So. Plenty of drink stations, plenty of water, plenty of electrolytes, medical tents everywhere. And also, just from your perspective, Lucia, the paces were fantastic. There were so many paces out there in the corrals. And, in our group where we were, there were 3, I think, 4 hour 30s just in the green 3 group. And there would have been 3 4 hour 30s in the red group and in the orange group. So, everywhere you looked, there were crowds filled with paces, which was fantastic to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I found that they changed the start mechanisms, the start villages and corrals or whatever they call it. I found that a bit crazy, a bit funny, to be honest, waiting outside the corral to get in the crowd to then go to the loo and then rush to get to the start line. I thought that was all a little bit, and they, bigger crowd. I'm not going to complain about it, but I just found it a bit odd the way that they did that. Plenty of toilets. However, last year's show on Sydney, I said they need to have a sign that says men urinals because once again, they had them. Fantastic. Well done. They just weren't signposted, so people didn't know what they were. You had to know secret men's business and follow people in. So we just need to get a sign up. We had a long day on course. Sharon was in tears at 8 kilometres and facing her very first DNF. But my wife, being the pig-headed person that she is and determined,
not to see me.
We ended up.
Tenacious is a better word than pig-headed. Thank you.
Oh no, she's pig-headed. So. So we got through the day. We spent far too long on our feet. I never want to spend that long on a race course again. ever. But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling it in the Achilles today, so that's probably the only remnants of holy dooly. I've just done a marathon that I've got. Overall, I thought I really enjoyed the course, right? And the only thing, a lot of people have complained about the long run out Anzac Parade. The only bonus is most of that's flat.
Yeah.
But I think, as Luch was saying, as the crowds grow with this major, that is going to be an awesome feeling and a vibe along there. You've got a flat run. There's plenty of shaders, Tim. I like that little out and back near,
Yes. Right.
which is just all shade,
Yeah.
So
18 to 19 kilometres, yeah.
yeah, so there's just there's some things within the course that you just love. I love Macquarie's Chair because you're going downhill, but you've got that uphill. A lot of the international visitors were really criticising the hill at 40K. That's what we do in Australia. We put hills right at the end of our races. That's, the Brisbane half, that wonderful one at 19 that they put in, and then we do the same thing. Probably the only thing, blankets, guys. We got to get a blanket at the finish or a poncho or something. Just because we're Australia doesn't mean that we can't ignore the fact that there was a bit of wind floating around. I thought the goodie bag improved than on last year. It pretty much doubled, but it's still not enough. I mean, to get an apple and a bar and a thing of water and a Powerade, it's just, that's not major material, guys. We need to lift that.
Let's get Harry's Cafe de Wheels to support and provide 39,000 meat pies afterwards. That's uniquely Australian.
No, I've got a better idea. The Disney cheese and chips.
But also, just you then have to walk up to what do they call it, the recovery village? And there's nothing up there, right? So get some beer trucks, and so at least then you can have a bit of a vibe happening. You're walking up a hill after a marathon. Give us something to enjoy at the top of the hill instead of saying.
Went around it. We went around it back to the hotel. It was perfect.
Yeah, so that would be my only criticism. So I thought, well done, Sydney. Thank God it's over. In my case, we now set our sights for Amsterdam. It was good to catch up with everyone. Had a couple of drinks with, except for Lucia. Lucia, I stir you up a little bit about being an influencer, but you had some responsibilities, you had some roles, and I think you did them all exceptionally well. So you should be very, very proud of that, and just ignore it if you ever get shitty with me for calling you an influencer.
I could not get shitty with you. Like, the amount of people that I had coming up to me at the Expo on Thursday, Friday, even at the race, oh, you're literally, I'm like, and I know you because, and I'm like, why? It was just great to get so much good feedback. So yeah, it's been an awesome couple of months for me doing what I have been doing, and then last couple of days, it's going to be hard to top it. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I've been given over these past couple of months.
It was a quick shout out to Amy from the Girls Run Club as well. She introduced herself to me through Kim Tudgman there at the Expo on Saturday. So it's always awesome to hear people tuning into the podcast. And then what is also awesome now is that we can relate people if they've got questions about, go listen to this episode that we did. We talk about that. And I think that's... We're getting a real content library. So,
now, can I just, I know we're running short on time, but I've got to give a massive shout out to our good friend of the podcast, Stephen Tudgman. He was meant to be one of the sweepers with me yesterday, so we were having a good chat. Blah 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 blah. I'm going to try and keep this story short. We caught a lady on the wheelchair. The person that was pushing her left her, but I will go into that in another episode. Stephen pushed a lady in a wheelchair from about the 4K right to the finish.
Yes.
Yeah, we
saw him out there. He was doing an amazing job.
Yep. And so I'll go into
basic wheelchair. It was a normal hospital grade type wheelchair, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And there is a story behind it. So The lady had done her ACL 4 weeks before. It was her 60th birthday. Her family had flown from overseas to watch her race, and Stephen's like, she's going to do it. So I didn't find all this out until after, because we thought, oh, maybe Stephen's just going to push it until the first redirection point. And then we're like, we never saw him after that until the end. So absolute credit to you, Stephen.
Yeah. Stephen walked past Sharon and I as we're heading down the finishing downhill straight. So, yeah, it was good to see. Sorry, Tim.
Can I ask a quick question, Lucia? As you come back Anzac Parade and then you do the right into Moore Park and into the football stadium, when we came back out, it was clear that you guys had already gone through that area and they'd closed off traffic, closed off the course so you couldn't go into Moore Park. They're actually funneling people who are behind you to come into the course at that point. Now, those people will get a DNF, but they continued their run and continued running through. So will they then get a medal at the end, I presume?
Correct. So anyone that went through a redirection point, and that's another drama, which I'll go into in another episode, but people at that point, they got redirected. So they would have been given the option to finish. They would have been classified as DNF, but they would have still gotten a medal to give them the experience of running over the finish line.
I like that.
Yeah, unless they got picked up on the swag bus, which a lot of people did.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, I've got to pull up stumps because I've got another podcast to get to. So, all right. It was an awesome weekend. Well done, Sydney. I have no idea what our next episode is. Tim does, but I'm not going to let him talk. Yeah, so we're talking Berlin. Okay, we're talking Berlin on our very next episode. For everyone that we caught up to over the Sydney Marathon weekend, for everyone that said g'day, stopped by, or we saw on the course, it was awesome seeing you. It is always a great weekend when we catch up with our running mates, because I think on the Sunday night there was a lot of people saying, oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to do a marathon again, but who knows? So happy running, everyone, and keep going. Happy running.
Happy running.